Hello guys, welcome to this video. Okay, let's get through this. So I've got a document here. I'll share it in the description. Now, um, Android Studio tutorial, we're going to work on the assignment. Okay, let's go through this. So first of all, reference material module manual, you can find it in here. You can otherwise find it here, here, or here. So open that. I've got it open already here. Next up, GitHub. Okay, so basically, if you go to 2004 in IMAD, there's this document. I'm just following step 1.4.1, which is basically just about creating a GitHub account, downloading GitHub, and logging in, which you can do by options. And then if you're signed out, you can click sign in. It takes you, say, sign in through browser, it takes you to your browser, etc., etc. Um, now make an account. Okay, so once we're there, we can make a repo. Okay, so essentially how to make a repo is you go here, you click this, you say new repo, you type in the name. We're going to use the same name as the assignment. So IMAD 5112A1 2024, because there's the 2024 one. It already exists. That's fine. It's public. Um, we don't have to add a README, click create, but I've already done it. So, um, so once it's created, you can see it available in your, well, here, but you can also see it available here. So this is the one. Then if you want to clone it, you go here, click clone, you click github.com, you click it here. Then you're going to want to make sure you put it inside documents and then a folder called GitHub. If it already exists, that's great. If it doesn't, create it, double click it there, select folder, just click select folder. It'll automatically create a subdirectory with the same name as your repo. Click clone, done. Next thing, you're going to want to go here, Android Studio. You're going to want to say new, new project. You're going to use empty views activity. Next, you're going to give this the same name as your project. So as your repo, I mean, but instead of a dash, use an underscore, which is better for naming projects. Next up, you're going to go here, make sure that you've located to the correct place. So if you're here, open users, open RC student lab, go to documents, go to GitHub, then your repo folder is this one, click OK. Then um, it'll do that. Make sure this is set to Oreo. Once that's done, click finish. It'll generate your files or whatever. So um, for instance, once you've generated the files, it'll show you this, but over here in changes. Once you've got the chain, once they all will be ticked by default, so that's fine. Then you're going to give it a message that correlates with that. So for instance, started my project is what the name I give it. So started my project. Then you click commit to main. After you've clicked commit to main, you click push, which will be available here. Then you can, then it'll be available in your history that you've started the project with the name that you gave it, and all the changes will be here. Um, in addition to that, you're going to want to go to this. So once you've got your project open, then you're going to want to make sure that Android view is selected. Go to this file, this module app build Gradle thingy file. Change this compile SDK from 24 from 34 to 35. Um, Also, this thing will not be here. I don't know how to stop it. Anyway, there. So if you want to open your emulator, you click on this. Um, then you click play here, and then it'll start up your emulator. If you want to start your project, but this button here is it's normally a play button, but in this case it sometimes goes into this shape. If it's not green, like it is green now, so it's fine. But if it's not green, you go here, File, um, Sync Project Gradle Files. Click that. It'll take some time. It'll load, show loading down here. Eventually, when that's done, it takes a couple of minutes. This will then be green, so you can then click it to run your project. Mm. So all of what I said is listed here. So then running it. So yeah, this is how we open it, through clicking that and then the play, and then how to run our app is clicking that. We're just going to wait for that to be done before we run it, which is all the instructions are here. If our screen goes black, you can just click the power button for it to unsleep, to wake up again. Coding. So coding AS project through an example. Okay, so there's some fundamental things to understand when it comes to coding in Android Studio. These things are outlined in the module manual in these different sections, and in brackets we can see what they cover, which is important. First thing we need to do is identify our main files. We've got main activity and activity underscore main. So this is our logic file or our processes file. This is our layout file, which includes our inputs and outputs. These are main files. So if we edit our logic, first of all, so that's our main dot activity. It will start looking like this. So we will insert any code we make underneath this line here, make a new line, and then that's where we can insert. So for instance, we can put in this code. This code is an example of how it's using inputs and outputs. So Kotlin, the processing language or logic language, can reference components from the layout, which contains the inputs and outputs. So in this example, this is how it does it. So we can grab one button by a specific element. We can give it a handle, and then we can create a listener, a click listener. So if it is clicked, then this is executed. And then we can also create a text view, which is going to be our output, then our edit text, which is going to be our input. So in this example, they input their name, and then they are presented with a string which is called welcome, and then whatever their name is, like welcome Ivan, in the output, which is manipulated like this. So that's a simple example. In order to make this work, our layout would need to have these components. So so we would need to create them. So you can go to text view, drag it in, go to button view, drag it in, go to plain text, drag it in. Then you can edit the IDs for each to make sure that they are are the same as what we have here, or these are the same as what they have on the layout. So they just need to make sure that this corresponds with the ID of the button. And for the rest as well. So the other thing is that there's other things to read about this in these sections. As I said, go through these sections in the module manual and you'll learn more about that. It's also important, for instance, to click to position your elements. So for instance, if you click this, you need to click the plus on the top, left, and the right to make sure it's positioned correctly for each of these elements. Now, Next thing is, what is this? Steps. Okay, sorry. Edits, edit and use strings. So strings is something that the lecturer wanted us to use. So as a basic example, um, if you if you drag a text view here, then you can reference a string here. So for instance, you can write app name and then select string app name. Our strings you can see are available here in res values strings. We can see a key pair value here, which is our app name. Now that is being then used here in our templates. We can also reference these key pair value strings in our Kotlin file, but there's a different way we do that. Okay, so next up, why is this still taking a while? Okay, so once we've made some changes to our code, then once again, our changes will be listed here. They'll all be ticked by default. We can go ahead and give it a message and say we changed some code, etc., such as I added some logic. So if we change the main activity and the activity main, the layout and the logic, this is an example of how I've changed them and I've created an app that does something. Next thing is our string reference, as I just spoke about. So for example, if I add this thing here and refer to the app name, we can display the app name here. And if we want to edit the text for that, we can go and do it in the strings here. So this is then, once again, I made that change. I came here, they would ticked, write a message. So I added string reference example, a string reference example. And as we can see, I added a text view and the text is there. Okay, lastly, if we look at what this assignment from 2024 wants us to do, um, it's basically wanting us to use an if statement. So basically it wants us to the user to enter their age, and then it wants to give a different person based on it. Basically wants to give you a person who died at your age from history. We also must make the app like very tidy and like appealing looking, which I haven't actually done with my one because I'm just more covering the logic for now. Um, and they also mention error handling. So, so for instance, we can see here what I've done. So I added this code. Um, what is this? Oh no, that's fine. So you can see here that my initial example was just the thing that says welcome, whatever your name is, when they click that button. But I wanted to change it so that um, instead when they click the button, it checks what your text is, and depending on if it is a number, if it's not a number. So first of all, okay, here's an important thing to see. Edit text dot text to string to int or null. That converts your value to a number. If it isn't a number and it can't be converted to a number, it'll convert it to null. In which case I can give an error, which means I can just make my result, make a new variable called result. That result is going to be displayed in my text view, and that result is going to be different depending on the situation. If I determine that they haven't provided a number, the result will come to please enter a number. Next thing is if they entered less than 10, I add a different error saying, please enter a number higher than 10. If they enter a number that is greater than 10 and less than or equal to 15, then this is the result I'm going to give. And this is my historic figure. So I created an age range, and for each age range, I created a different person and said when they died. So I did whole bunch. So basically, if I enter my age, 31, then it'll say Bruce Lee martial artists for me. That's what it should do. So I can test that behavior. If I go here, so enter 31, well, enter something else, 31D. It says, please enter a number. Enter 31, says Bruce Lee. Okay, so that's done. So there's one more step we could do, which is that we could use Kotlin's if we go back to, so I'm not sure what this is. Oh, it's meant to be a different, it's meant to be a heading for. Um, so if we go to here, this section, we can see this is how it's referenced in the layout. This is how it's referenced in Kotlin. So for instance, if instead I want to uh, show the result like I want to store this string in strings and then just get it from here, I could, for instance, say uh, um, I could call this from 10 to 15. And then I could go in here, Control D to duplicate this one. And then I could say from 10 to 15, paste that string in there. And now it'll get that string from there. So this is how you can use this method. I could do this for each one. I could name this one 15 to 20. I could name this one 20 to 25, etc. So here's an example of committing changes. So I've just made this change here. Not sure what this is. And this change is also important. So then these two things, then I'm going to get an example of creating commit. So converted static text to string. And I go ahead and commit that. So committed, so now it's in my history, but it's not yet pushed. And then I click push and then it's pushed. Now when it's pushed, I can see the changes on my repo over here. So I can see the code is all there. And if I want to see the commits, basically the history, I can see the latest one. I made a typo, but there it is. There's the change. Okay, then last things is the writing tests. This thing is actually too complex. I don't understand it. I've done research. I can't understand it. It also connects to the GitHub Actions. So since I don't understand the first part, I can't do this part either. So hopefully we'll get more clarity on that. Anyway, thanks for watching. That's everything. So I'm going to link this repo and these two documents in the video when I upload it.